Vicky Linane and welcome to Embrace Therapy podcast. I am a practicing art therapist based in Ireland. In each episode, I will interview guests from various fields of therapy and well-being with the aim to encourage healing through embracing therapy. Today's guest is Nicola Mooney of Lyrical Wave Drama Therapy. Drama therapy is a therapeutic process using creative methods to explore play and come to a deeper understanding of ourselves, unlocking our true potential to engage authentically with the world around us. Nicola currently provides drama therapy in Dublin on a one-to-one or group basis. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Nicola Mooney, drama therapist. So you're very welcome on, and I guess today I just wanted to talk about support and the work that you're doing at the moment, and I really just want to get a good picture of drama therapy and what it means to you. So for now, what does support look like to you after this current state that we're in, the pandemic?
Support in terms of for myself, or support in terms of the support I've been doing with people? Or
I think, we'll start with you, and then maybe, because I think a lot of people that will be listening will be therapists. So maybe starting with you, and then maybe we'll talk about the people that are coming to you as well. What is it for you? What does it look like for you?
Well, I suppose the last few months with COVID, the support has slightly changed. I would say that I was more supported in COVID than I am without COVID.
Yeah.
Because there was the peer support group with IACAT that I helped set up. There was that. And then YPAR, YPAR are young people at risk, and they're in Northeast Inner City, and I do a lot of my drama therapy work for them. So they get referrals from the area, and then they contact me, and they have a panel of therapists, they're basically who fund the work.
Wow.
But they set up a support group during it, which we'd never had between all the therapists. There was our one that I could have went to with our own pair of therapists supporting each other. I didn't manage to go to one, but that was there if I needed it. Plus I had my own supervision. And there was other stuff I can't even remember now, but I did have a lot. So I actually felt very supported, to be honest. One thing that supported me with mood, so that was kind of good emotional support, or even if it was just to go on and be like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. It's so different through the camera, and I feel like I'm missing out on stuff, but then I'm getting other stuff that I wouldn't normally get in the room. And so there was a lot of talk around reflecting on that. And then what helped me then with going online, because I literally just did it without thinking. I just found out Osman House wasn't open. That's where I do most of my work, my drama therapy work, because I rent rooms there. I work with the kids there, and for my own practice, when I get my own private clients, that's not through YPAR. I rent a room in Osman House because it's handy. So that closed. So I had that was it. Everyone was gone. So I just had to go. I literally went straight online. I just rang I spent the first day of when everything closed down, and I was doing my drama therapy work, ringing people, seeing if they wanted to go online. Everybody bar two said yes. So I just started the following week, set up times and did it. But what was great, what really supported me then, was IACAT brought on the online training. So there was training that IACAT did for going online, and I really found that beneficial. And then a friend of mine who lives in New Jersey did training in New Jersey online.
Oh, wow.
And this woman then did it in Europe. So I did that training, and that was within the first week. So all of that really supported me to show that it was possible, because I had never met anyone or spoken to anyone who'd done it. I mean, it was never on my radar at all. So all of those things were a good support, and I even think I just moved rooms as well from other work that I do. I did that work basically downstairs, and I did my drama therapy work upstairs. So I had a gap, I had a space
Good.
And I found all of that helped. So everything, trying not to get it all mashed into one, you know?
Yeah, I found little tricks like that as well myself. Like even like I have like set clothes I would wear usually in a session. So I was like wearing them and my perfume as well, you know, kind of getting into that kind of role,
Mm,
you know, and then the joy of de-rolling then when I was finished, I found that really helpful. So
yeah.
yeah, that's really good. And it's funny when that moment came back in March. I think it was March 13th, Thursday,
Mm, yeah.
and the schools were closing, and it was very much like, okay, the work is going to change. I need to keep the work going because the work is going to get harder. You know, they need us now more than ever, especially the children. And it was
Mm,
very much like that. Just right, adapt. Let's adapt.
yeah. Yeah.
What's going
And
to
fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I wasn't aware of Zoom. I only knew about Skype, you know, and the WhatsApp, you know, the video call on WhatsApp. But then finding out that that wasn't enough, you know, confidentiality and learning it as you went along, you know,
Mhm.
but trying to be, you know, as professional and as supportive through it.
Yeah, and as ethical as possible, you
Yeah,
know, and even like, you know, the kids I work with, some of them are, you know, one or two are quite young. So it was beneficial to have the parent. You couldn't really do it with a 5 year old. You know, I did work with a 5 year old through the whole thing, and he engaged the most out of all of the people I work with.
wow.
And his mum was just present to him, you know, if he needed something, she'd get it. And, you know, and then we eventually, as the time went on, you know, she figured out a way to put it in the sitting room, you know, that she could be at the kitchen and she could still see him and he could see, you know, it all. So it was even figuring out all that stuff in people's homes that they had to really adapt as well, and supporting people to adapt without taking over the whole house
Yeah,
or apartment, you know, because at the end of the day people have other kids, and you know, so even all of that, um you know, took time to figure out, you know.
and
um
imagine drama therapy over you know, a computer screen. So like really thinking on your feet. How did you adapt your schooling, I suppose, everything that you know, you practice in the room face to face,
yeah.
like
Well, it was very difficult with the movement. I found the kids I was working with, just so we'd always, like, with a drama therapy session, we'd have it, you know, broken into, you know, the third, three parts. So the beginning, middle, and end. And I always do a movement or some breathing at the beginning and the end to open and close the session. And then you have the main bit in the middle. And I found that hard. I found it difficult. And I never really got it as well as I would have liked to have that structure
yeah,
through the video. The kids would kind of start straight away,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and they didn't. I tried where I was moving and they'd move, but they really couldn't get it, you
yeah.
know.
It's like the phone call. You know, you pick up the phone, you're like, "Hello, how are you?" Straight into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And like, even being back in the room now and doing movement, and it's following and sharing with each other but without speaking, and it's really nice, and the breathing and relaxation to
Mm,
bring both of us into the room and into the present moment, like that didn't transfer as well for me anyway through the screen, which I missed. And the difference being back in the room doing it is unbelievable, because they just follow and then lead and follow and lead, and it's like it's that exchange, whereas it just didn't translate. Because what happened, what would happen, they get overexcited, so they'd be going off around the room and then you can't see them.
oh yeah, yeah, of course. And the mic as well only goes so far as well. So you know, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, whereas like two adults were doing it, we'd be able to follow each other and that, but and lead, and but that, so I missed that. But I did a lot of art, a lot of, so I suppose, you know, with drama therapy, like, I'll explain a bit about it, like,
Lovely.
so we work a lot through the metaphor. So you know, very similar to all creative art therapies, you know, it's in the metaphor. And then, so I would, as I say, start off usually with movement, or I have small word figures and we'd have make stories with them, or they'd represent people. And we do projection. I do like embodiment, projection, and role, which is Sue Jennings. So the embodiment is obviously the movement, at the beginning and then coming into your body. And then projection usually is in the form of using the, the miniature figures that you'd have in sand tray therapy, but I don't do sand tray, but using them and making up stories, and then they might link with people or to something going on, and then moving to role, and that would take time, it wouldn't be all like and boom boom, and sometimes it goes backwards and forwards, and it's not as linear as that either, but moving into role then, and then becoming the character and embodying it, and moving through that. And then with older, like with teenagers and stuff, like we would sit down and talk about it and reflect on it in relation to our own lives or their own life.
Yeah.
But in relation with kids, usually the play is generally, what they need, and the emotion will come out through that. They don't need to be analysing it, because cognitively they're not really there anyway, so it's really staying with the emotion and staying in the metaphor. And so some really nice work can happen in the room. And then with sensory, I would use a lot of sensory play as well with younger children. And it's amazing what comes out of that in terms of exploring containment and regulation in terms of emotions, and and I suppose I'm a big, I suppose from my youth work background as well, because I was a youth worker for 15 years, like I'm very much into it, is the relationship and being present is important. So you could have nothing in the room, but you have yourself in the room. So it's not like, I always have to remind myself of that when I keep thinking, oh, I need this, I need that. No, I'm like, well, do you really know? Because really what you're bringing to it is important, and being present to the child so that they can bring themselves, and creating that authentic and safe space, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No,
sorry.
So like, you were saying you brought in a lot of art then, I suppose, so kind of leaning a little bit that creative side.
So there was less of the movement and less of the small world stuff. I tried to do that. That didn't translate very well either. So it was a lot of art, a lot of drawing, and creating superheroes came up a lot, and creating superheroes. And then you see, normally with drama therapy, the next phase of that in the room will be moved to embody the superhero and go into role, and maybe write a story and script. But we didn't do that bit. We stayed with the paper, which was interesting, and it was a bit different for me, but a lot of stories were made, actually. A lot of the kids were making a lot of stories through their drawings, because then they would draw it and tell me about it, and it would be a whole story they've drawn.
Do you think they're making sense of COVID and the pandemic? Do you think that
there was a lot of that going on at the beginning? There was a lot of confusion, obviously, and fear, I would say. And also, what really saddened me was because the way it was put out in the media at the beginning, with kids are carriers, and so some kids really took that on, I mean, I did have one child say, no, well, if I see my nanny, I'll kill her, so I can't see her.
That is so true. They were very, very harsh about that. And then even, turning on the radio for even 10 minutes, you're going to hear the amount of deaths in just that day. Constant reminder. It was hard going. The first 6 weeks were extremely hard going. And then now you're kind of out of that. You're in the room again, as we were talking about. And do you find that there's going to be a bit of a shift? Like you were talking about fear there, and I'm just wondering, like, whatever work you've done before, is that somewhat parked, and you're kind of now in the moment of dealing with maybe what looks like PTSD, or how's it going? Like, does it feel like the work is continued, or is there something new brought because of COVID?
No, I think as we're in the room, it's a different relationship. And interestingly enough, the younger kids that I was working with, there was 2 teenagers I had been working with before COVID for a good while. So they transitioned in a different way into online, and that was a mixture of videos and phone calls and that kind of thing. But and when it came to the 20-kilometer, I was able to meet, one of the teenagers face to face, and we went for a walk, so that was nice. So that was different. But with the younger ones, I hadn't worked with them before COVID. I'd only had one session.
Ah.
So all of their work with me was online. So they're in a room in a different space. But what's fascinating is
Mm.
every single one of them came into the room, remembered the very first session, and we continued from there.
Magic. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Not from COVID, not from after COVID or the current, from that session.
Mm.
Remember we did this, remember we have you got this, have you got that? They went straight back to that until.
Mm. Wow.
So that's where it started from. It's bizarre.
It is, and I suppose there was that meeting place, and they're almost reviewing that meeting place and checking that container and testing it a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fascinating. Um,
yeah.
so like you brought in the idea of role play and maybe how that was not really used over Zoom, and that you're back in the room. And can you describe a little bit more about what role play is? Because I think a lot of the people that would be listening would be fascinated to know about like the embodiment of experiences, and maybe how they acted out in a role
Mm.
play, and a little bit about that.
Well, I suppose really I think the word role is what's more important than is probably explains it a bit better than role play. Because I always think role play is like you're getting up, acting a role. And in one sense, that's part of it, but it's not all of it. So, you know, anything that we create or make, whether it's a drawing or a story, or through the small world figures playing with them, it's trying to project it out into a role piece. So sometimes it's natural within the story, and we recreate the story or scenes within the story, or movement, and literally, dress up, have fun, act it out, and explore what does it feel like, and then if we change it, so if we tweak something slightly, what would it feel like then,
Yeah.
or if we turned it on its head. So it's really in that safe space through role, exploring different emotions and different roles. So the way in talk therapy, which some people might be more familiar with than creative art therapy, like you would talk about the different roles, and well, maybe if looked at it this way, or if you explored it this way, or what would it be like to make a different choice, or so rather than doing it cognitively, we're acting it out in the moment, so we're really embodying it and fully feeling it. So that's really, what, and then it's also when kids are young, for the younger kids, it's a form of play as well for them, and it's all done through fun. And then you always realize, kids use superheroes, or they make up their own, or they're different characters from cartoons, but there's always a reason why they like them, and sometimes it's in relation to something about themselves or their own lives, and they're exploring that through the character. So it's just going deeper into that to really embody it, and become
Like
become that person, or that feeling, or that thing, or you know.
so a real sense of like integrating the idea and the narrative of that
Yeah,
story and into the body, and like feeling it
yeah,
in that moment.
the physicality of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Because there's another piece, and it is a former role as well, which I love in drama therapy, active image making.
Mm.
So that could start off in a different way, but in some ways the way I like to do it is, the person is lying down relaxing, and you're bringing them, they go into a relaxed state, and then when they come out of that, whatever images were in their mind, drawing them out, like you're not thinking about it, and it's not about a perfect drawing, just getting them down on paper, and then projecting that image in the room and recreating those images, and then moving into it, so you're in the image and looking at it from different angles. So that's it. I love doing that with older kids and teenagers, and adults. It's a really nice, it's quite a powerful thing to do. Now it takes a while. You don't do it all in one day or one session, but that's another, it's a form of a role, but you're not acting, but you're moving into something you created. It's quite Jungian actually,
Yeah.
in terms of tapping into the unconscious. And
there's a real sense of ownership about it, you know, like owning their story, like taking control over it. Maybe if they didn't feel in control at that time, then maybe they felt powerless to it. But yeah, a sense of empowerment. Yeah, it's
Yeah, because I know when I was training and I did that, we did it over a couple of weekends because we used to be in um one weekend or every month, you know, so as well as our other days. So we would do that kind of process work over a few days. And I know when I did it, I was astounded at what I learned, you know, and what I understood more of, or what I wasn't even aware was there, you know, and that's having gone to therapy for years and being in therapy. You know, but it was something I had never done, and I just found it so, as you said, empowering. It was empowering because it was all from me,
yeah,
you know. It was no one telling me anything. I was the one that did it and created it and recreated it in the room, you know,
yeah.
and stepped into it then. So it's quite powerful, I think, active image making. Yeah.
It's magic because, like, you know, as an art therapist, it's always the image that we look at and refer to, but when it's you embodying it, it's something totally different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Sorry, I'm after doing something here. Something
and
came up and hang on, I don't know, my computer did a message. I don't know what the, I think it's all right. It was giving me some message there, and then Zoom,
yeah.
you minimize, and I have no idea why.
Can you still hear me though?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, great.
Oh, that's what it is. My battery's 19%.
Okay,
Sure,
well, yeah,
I can go and get the charger in a while.
yeah. Well, we're doing fine. We've
Yeah.
half an hour already. But yeah, so I might just catch up. So, and of course, you did the masters in Maynooth.
In minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So you,
Yeah, from 2014 to 2016.
yeah, yeah. So finished in 2016. So you know, drama therapy is a master's level qualification and
Yeah.
job. So you've had the experience as a youth worker before that for 15 years. You were saying as well. And
Yeah.
what made you, like, you know, pick drama therapy? How did it come into?
I would see, I'm doing drama and dancing since I was 8. So that's probably why. No, and then I would always, I always stayed involved in performing. You know, I still perform like I always have. And my friend, funny enough, I was looking at different masters to do. And I used to teach drama and stuff. So I was very, and then I was into psychology anyway. And so these were just my interests. And then my friend found a book, The Introduction to Drama Therapy by Dorothy Langley, and sent it to me for my birthday
Wow,
and said, "You should do this." I read about it online.
she
And
weaved
she
it all together.
watched some interview of someone, and she's like, "Oh my God, Nicola Mooney should do that."
Yeah.
So she sent me the book and I read it and I looked it up and I really liked it. That was it. That was it.
It's really funny. I have a similar experience, as in I was doing I was doing work experience in a radio station, and one of the presenters was actually reading into play therapy, and she recommended Pigs
Mhm.
in Search of Self, the book. And like yourself,
Yes.
got the book, loved it, and then started, like, you know, doing my homework and my research on that area. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Isn't it funny? Because I had been looking at, I'd been thinking about doing a master's, and I was looking online for about a year. And while I was interested in stuff, nothing was grabbing me. You know, that I went, "Oh my God, I have to sign up for that." I'd read about it and go, "Oh yeah, I'd like that. And I could do this and I could do that." But nothing, I didn't sign up for anything. And I'd been looking for a year. So, not, you know, obviously wasn't pulling me. But as soon as I read that book, I couldn't put it down.
yeah.
And then that was that.
So you did drama, like you were teaching it as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a qualified drama teacher as well. Yeah,
Oh yeah, gosh,
yeah.
so many strings to that bow.
It's only because I try anything.
Oh, that's
I know.
brilliant.
Well, I've been doing stuff like that since I was young, and I've always had those interests. They've never gone,
Yeah,
you know, and I've always nurtured them. And
yeah.
so
That is so important, you know, keeping that child alive in you. Do you know, I
Yeah.
think that's half, like that's like support in itself, isn't it? Just keeping that
Yeah.
child awake, not.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Definitely.
so so then your kind of expression and your creativity is being met in your work, but do you get time then for yourself to know, like, that you're getting your skills, kind of, you know nurturing that side of it? So, like, how do
Yeah.
you?
Well, it's interesting because really the work I do with kids, and all of my work is with children and families. The creativity in that feeds me. So there's that part of it. Personally, I always try and do one or two shows a year. So I do Kush Kane, which is the dance company in town. So I do shows with them. I actually did an online one during COVID. That was another support, actually, because that was something I did, and it was for 3 weeks, and it was online, and we created a piece. I must send you the link. In our kitchens we did it. So, and it was we anyway. So that was one piece. So I do try and do something, um, to feed my own creativity, but that's about it. I probably don't do as much as I should, or I would like to be doing. But look, you know,
Yeah, but that's wonderful
but
that you
that's what I would do. It would be performancey stuff, you
mm,
know. Yeah, like I don't do. I'm not a visual artist myself. I never have been. So I wouldn't be someone who'd sit down and draw, but I would. I'd more be dancing and acting,
yeah.
laughing around the place.
Brilliant. um
Mm.
it's just amazing, like, the amount of work that you can do with people through drama as well. Like, it's just amazing. But I was thinking a little bit about, how people are, like, authentic in the moment, and you know that's a real vulnerable place. uh,
Mm,
but it's also a place where courage is born, and it can just change your life. That moment where you're just like, wow, I've been seen and heard, and there's been no judgment,
mm,
and then something changes. Like,
mm.
it's just magic. Like, that growth that happens, is that something, I suppose, is that a reason why you love the job? Or like, that growth part of it as well, like, where.
It is, and seeing people growing and developing and figuring stuff out and making changes or different choices. And I love when I see, if sometimes working with people and they come in and kids as well, and they're so quiet, and you're trying to support them or provide a space and support them to find their voice. And I love when they find their voice and they start going, no, I don't want to do, no, I'm not doing that. No, I love that. I'm like, yay. That kind of way, like where, and then and there's because I think a lot of it is so, how do I say it? Big. I think sometimes when working with people, I've often fallen into the trap of looking for big change and almost perfection, and God, why is that still happening? But really, it's the small pieces that build up and up, and I think that's what's important, is noticing them, um, and remembering that, like I had I remember one child working with, and they really struggled to share. Everything had to be theirs, and they were only young, but it was becoming a problem. It wasn't a regular developmental. I just learned about sharing. It was become, it wasn't. It was becoming a challenge. but it took a long time. But I will never forget the moment when they shared some, they shared a marker in the room, and said, "Oh, do you want this one?" It's like, oh my god, because normally it's not, I want this, I want this, But I'm just saying that story because it's just a little those little moments, and that's why I value the relationship and being present, because unless you can't notice those little moments, which
Yeah.
are really important. And that's probably what keeps me going through the hard times when I'm struggling in the work, or when the challenge, or just whatever's going on, it's a struggle, it's those are the bits that keep me going.
Mm, brilliant. Thank you so much,
Mm.
Nicola. So where can people find you on the internet? If they want to find out more about the lovely work that you're doing.
Well, I have a YouTube channel, Lyrical Wave Drama Therapy, and I have a Facebook page, Lyrical Wave Drama Therapy, as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So
That's
they're
brilliant.
the two platforms I'm on at the moment. I haven't moved to Instagram yet, but I may.
Yeah, you should, because the stories you could do so much. I can just imagine the work that you could do on that. Give us the
I must.
texture of some work that you're doing in your kitchen, maybe.
I know we did the training. I did the training and everything with ICAT for all the different social medias. That was another thing. I did a lot at the beginning of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Really did the first 2 months when I think about it. So, I should really broach Instagram, because I was supposed to after that training, but I didn't.
Well done for being on YouTube. It's brilliant. That's great. It really is.
Yeah, 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 it's good.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you. And thanks for talking to me and listening to me.
Anytime. Oh, you can relax now and chill for the rest of the evening.
Have you turned that recorder off?
Yeah, I'll do it now. Hold on. Let's see. Stop.